Good morning, Facebook. Okay. So as I was in my prayer time last night, I just really felt convicted to share a couple of things that I was feeling. This is so uncomfortable for me. Lord, give me strength. So I just want to share a couple of thoughts, a couple of things I felt really convicted about this morning. So bear with me. I took some notes. I got my Bible here. So I want to chat with you a little bit about this. I continue to see all of these negative things about the He Gets Us ad that happened during the Super Bowl. And I have some thoughts. So I just would like you to be open to what I'm going to say. I have been praying about this. I've been in my Bible. So just bear with me, if you will. So, I'm going to read to you from John chapter 13. We'll start in verse 4. So he got up from the meal. This is talking about Jesus at the Last Supper. He's washing the disciples' feet. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus replied, "You do not realize now what I'm doing, but later you will understand." "No," Peter said, "you shall never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no part with me." "Then, Lord," Simon Peter replied, "not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well." Jesus answered, "A person who has had a bath needs only to wash his feet. His whole body is clean. You are clean, though not every one of you." He was talking about Judas. For he knew who was going to betray him, and that was why he said not everyone was clean. When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. "Do you understand what I have done for you?" he asked them. "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you should also wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. I tell you the truth, no servant is greater than his master, nor his messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them. I am not referring to all of you. I know those I have chosen, but this is to fulfill the scripture. He who shares my bread has lifted up his heel against me. I am telling you now before it happens, so that when it does happen, you will believe that I am he. I tell you the truth. Whoever accepts anyone I send accepts me, and whoever accepts me accepts the one who sent me." So if you read, like in my study Bible, and I realize that a study Bible at the bottom is one person's perspective, but I really want us to think about this. It says Jesus was a model servant, and he showed his servant attitude to his disciples. Washing guests' feet was a job for a household servant to carry out when guests arrived. But Jesus wrapped a towel around his waist, as the lowliest slave would do, and washed and dried his disciples' feet. Even if he, God in the flesh, is willing to serve, we, his followers, must also be servants, willing to serve in any way that glorifies God. Are you willing to follow Christ's example of serving? Whom can you serve today? There is a special blessing for those who not only agree that humble service is Christ's way, but also those who follow through and do it. So we think about Peter. We think about Judas. Peter washed Judas's feet knowing he would betray him. Jesus washed Peter's feet knowing he would deny him 3 times. So imagine being Peter and watching Jesus wash the other disciples' feet while he moves closer to him. Seeing his master behave like a slave must have confused Peter. He still did not understand Jesus' teaching that to be a leader, a person must be a servant. This is not a comfortable passage for leaders who find it hard to serve those beneath them. How do you treat those who work under you, children, employees, or volunteers? Jesus did not wash his disciples' feet just to get them to be nice to each other. His far greater goal was to extend his mission on earth after he was gone. These men were to move into the world serving God, serving each other, and serving all people to whom they took the message of salvation. So here are my thoughts. I've read through the He Gets Us website. I've watched a video. I shared it in the description before I posted the live. Watch it. This is the biggest, hey Kara, this is the biggest problem in my opinion with non-believers wanting to come to Christ today, because the church is divisive on things like this. So I worked in radio for 7 years. When you have 30 to 60 seconds to create a commercial, you have to have a wow factor. The goal in a 30 to 60 second commercial is for someone to take action. In 2023, after they aired the He Gets Us Super Bowl ad, almost 1 million people went to their website, which was more people who searched Jesus during the Super Bowl in 2023 than actually who searched Jesus during Christmas time. As sad as it is, the world that we live in, people watch the Super Bowl more than they focus on Christmas. So if I'm someone who wants to get out the message of Jesus in the middle of a massive sports event, I have 30 to 60 seconds to do it. I'm going to spend $7 million, which some people think is ridiculous, but if we're not willing to invest everything we have for Christ, then what's the point? So we have to have a wow factor. Do you know how many people searched that website this year? Be interesting to see. So I've heard a lot of controversy about, he's washing the feet of the woman at the abortion clinic. He's washing the feet of the trans person at the end of the commercial. Not he, Jesus, but someone else. So I want you to think about some things. First of all, washing feet is a symbol of humility, for both people. Daryl and I washed feet at our wedding as part of our unity service. To be able to get down on your knees to serve someone in this way takes an extreme act of humility. And for the person whose feet is being washed, maybe they didn't have a pedicure that week. It takes pride and ego out of the situation. It was the most humble act Jesus could provide to his disciples. That's why he did it. Literally washing feet may not always be the idea, but in a 30 to 60 second commercial, to show the idea of humility and how we can serve someone who is lost in sin, that's the point. Why are we making it something that it's not? Salvation comes before sanctification. We serve other people. We love them to Jesus. We show them through our words and our actions and by telling our story who Jesus is and how he changed our lives. When we connect with them and we serve them on that level, whether it's literally washing their feet or holding the door open for them or commenting on their shoes or whatever it is, that they want to know more. They see love through you. They want to know more. When you can tell them how Christ changed your life, they want to know more. You get to share the love of Jesus. They want to know more. Then comes salvation. When we become saved, the idea is to get in the Word, to pray, to talk to God. That is the idea. Then the sanctification process comes. First comes salvation, then comes sanctification. We should always, every day, be conforming to the image of Christ. But if you're going to tell me that someone who is high on drugs, someone that is living a trans lifestyle, someone that is extremely overweight and living a life of gluttony can't walk into a church and receive salvation and then take on the process of sanctification, then your Jesus is different than mine. then I should have never received salvation. And I don't believe that that's true. When we read in scripture about the Pharisees bringing the woman who was caught in adultery to Jesus, and he drew the line in the sand and he said, "He who is without sin, throw the first stone." When we see a commercial like this, it should move us to want to love and serve other people in a way that takes pride and ego, not only out of our life, but out of their life. First comes salvation, then comes sanctification. The closer we get to Christ, the less we want to drink, the less we want to give in to our flesh, the less we want to overindulge in food or spend money that we don't have, or gossip less, or compare ourselves less, or shame ourselves less. We're all struggling with our own sin. But to tell me that someone who just had an abortion, or who is living an inappropriate LGBT whatever lifestyle, can't walk into church and receive salvation and then the sanctification comes, that's not how Jesus works. He gets us because he meets us where we are. He comes to us. We see church signs all the time that say, "Come as you are. Come as you are." Okay, that's fine to put it on a church sign. But if someone walks into your church that looks different, that's high on meth or whatever the thing is, they still get to receive that gift. So maybe it's not the literal act of washing the feet, but we don't get to decide. It says right here in verse 18, "I am not referring to all of you. I know those who I have chosen." We wash the feet, then Jesus decides. It's not up to us to decide whose feet we are going to wash. He puts the conviction in our heart to go and serve other people, and then he changes people's lives, not us. We show love and grace and mercy because that's what the cross did for us. He was pierced for all transgressions. He took on every sin of the world in his last breath on the cross. And we don't get to choose who receives his love. He gets to choose that. We know through scripture that not everyone will go to heaven. We know that people will go to hell. We know that. But we don't get to choose who those people are. I've read about pedophiles and mass murderers, people coming to salvation before getting the death penalty. Christ is the one who decides someone's salvation, not us. It's so easy to look at someone who's trans or had an abortion or drug addicted or whatever, and we can say, oh, they're living in their sin. And our judgment of them is no better. We love them. We show them the love of Christ. We offer to pray with them, do a Bible study with them, share our story with them in a way that shares the light of Jesus. And then salvation comes because he's opened their heart to the message. He's the one that does the work. We have to be obedient to serve in a way that is humble. That is hard sometimes. It's easy to look at someone and judge them immediately, but you don't know that person's story. We don't know that person's story. I do this too. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it. But instead of in that moment say, oh my gosh, look at that person, say, Lord, be with them. I do that a lot lately. I've heard people say the website, it's pushing progressive Christianity. No, it's not. No, it's not. The Bible is the same today as it was 2,000 years ago, and it will be 2,000 years from now if we're still here. His love never changes. And as believers, we got to come together on this point, because we push more people away with our divisive, judgmental nonsense than anyone. Satanic people out there, atheists out there, all these people out there are pushing love and acceptance and all of these things. Christ does not push acceptance. Our pastor said in a message last year, unconditional love is not tolerance. But that doesn't mean that we shame people. That doesn't mean that we judge them. We love them through the process, and we trust that God is going to change their hearts in the process. Salvation comes before sanctification. We should always, no matter how long we've been a believer, we should always be trying to push harder into living more like Christ, loving more like Christ. There's weird stuff going on in the world. Now, more than ever, we have the opportunity to wash the feet of people who look different than us, who vote different than us, who walk different, live different. We have the opportunity to love people and show them what the true love of Christ looks like. So that's all I got to say about that. Salvation comes and then sanctification.